Chapter 1723. If Gu Mengmeng did not understand what was going on at the start, she understood everything the moment she saw Leah. That foreigner who looked familiar but she could not recall, she instantly remembered who he was. No wonder Leah wanted to come to H country, so this was his intention. Gu Mengmeng knew she should cooperate and act pitiful with reddened eyes, but seeing her man go through so much trouble, her heart was filled with sweetness and she could not suppress the corners of her lips. Gregory, who was supposed to be in F country, walked out from the corner wearing the same black Special Forces mission uniform. He stood beside Leah and said, "We can use the remote control to control the bomb vest, but we need to stall for some time." Then, the man asked Gu Mengmeng in English, what were they talking about? Gu Mengmeng smiled and replied in broken English, "We were talking about the weather, saying that today is a good day." The man indeed pointed the gun at Gu Mengmeng's head and spouted a long line of threatening words. Leah took out his gun and pulled the trigger. Then, the man's gun dropped to the ground and he roared at Leah, "Are you crazy?" Leah tilted his head and chuckled, looking extremely alluring. He said in perfect English, "Maybe. You can think that way, so don't touch her, don't scare her and don't talk to her. Your opponent is me, only me." Gu Mengmeng felt her face hurting. As someone who had gone through 9 years of compulsory education, her English was not as good as Leah, who had only come to the modern world for a few months. Did the people in the beast world all have language cheats? How many languages were Leah and the rest proficient in now? Gu Mengmeng, I'm sorry I'm late. Lee's expression was a little serious. He said, "Stand there and don't move. Trust me, understand." Gu Mengmeng nodded and stood at the same spot, smiling at Leah. Gunshots rang out one after another and the surroundings were in chaos. Gu Mengmeng was pulled by an external force and fell into a familiar embrace. Leah hugged her tightly, completely ignoring the rain of bullets around him. He only whispered into her ear, "Gu Mengmeng, look at me." Gu Mengmeng looked up at his voice and looked at Leah, who was cosplaying with full concentration and love. She smiled gently. "I will protect you and stand by your side forever. I won't let you get hurt. Trust me, Gu Mengmeng nodded and replied. Gregory removed the bomb vest that the foreign man had put on Gu Mengmeng. Then, he walked to the window and threw it out. At the same time, Leah pulled Gu Mengmeng into his arms and looked out of the window. With a loud bang, large and resplendent fireworks exploded outside the window. Leah whispered into Gu Mengmeng's ear, "Although the theme is love in the midst of war, it's still too dangerous to make an explosion in front of you, so I changed the explosion into fireworks. Do you like it?" Gu Mengmeng could not suppress her smile, but straightened her neck and said, "Plagiarizing Descendants of the Sun, but not finding the real UC gene for me. Bad review." Leah smiled and kissed Gu Mengmeng's lips as a punishment. Then, he said hoarsely, "UC gene belongs to Kong Moi Eon. Leah, this is yours." With that, Lee's lips pressed against Gu Mengmeng's again. It was a kiss filled with lingering emotions and endless gentleness. Chapter 1724. Confess. Gu Mengmeng smiled. Leah let go of Gu Mengmeng and took a step back. He knelt down on one knee and raised his handsome face, saying, "In my name, I swear to you that from today onwards, you are my God, my life, my everything. Gu Mengmeng, I love you. Marry me, all right?" Gu Mengmeng smiled and nodded. She opened her arms and waited for Leah to hug her. Leah stood up and held onto one of Gu Mengmeng's hands. He spun her around and hugged her with her back facing him. He whispered into her ear, "You gave your left ring finger to Elvis and your right ring finger to Snakel. My ring can only be like this." As Leah said that, he opened his palm in front of Gu Mengmeng as though he was performing a magic trick. A fox-shaped ring hung on the necklace and fell in front of Gu Mengmeng. It bounced twice and swayed left and right before finally stopping steadily in front of her. Shall I help you put it on? Leah asked gently. Gu Mengmeng nodded. Then, she parted her hair and revealed her fair and smooth neck. Leah put the necklace on Gu Mengmeng's neck. That ring landed right in between her collarbone and it reflected the fox on her left ear. It was as if one was on her ear and the other on her collarbone, looking at each other from afar and guarding each other. Now, I can finally be at ease. Leah swayed his body gently. Ever since you told Sandy this story, I have been worried that a male called Yu Sijin would come and snatch you away. Although I have watched the television series you mentioned after coming to the modern world and know that you did not lie to me, I could not bear to let you have any regrets. So, I used a large sum of money to hire the entire production team from the actors to the costume department. Even the scenes were remade according to that time period, just to replace him as the hero in your heart. Xiao Mengmeng, tell me, did I do it? You don't have to replace anyone. You will always be my hero. Gu Mengmeng leaned into Li's arms and chuckled. The helicopter rumbled above their heads, creating a deafening sound. A ladder hung down from the helicopter. Leah carried Gu Mengmeng with one hand and grabbed onto the ladder with the other, leaving the dilapidated building. Grace transformed into a bird in a corner that no one noticed. After circling twice, he followed the trajectory of the helicopter and flew away. On the helicopter, Elvis and Snake were wearing the same attire as Leah. They sat on either side of Gu Mengmeng. Leah sat opposite Gu Mengmeng. His gaze swept across the ring on her neck and then her left ear. Then, he smiled and said, Xiao Mengmeng, look, you are much more fortunate than Kong Moiyan. You have 4 Yu Saijins. Gu Mengmeng smiled and nodded, not saying a word. Leah could not allow her to have any regrets in her life, no matter if it was love or hate. Even after thousands of years, she had already forgotten all the love and hate she had, but he still firmly remembered what had hurt her and what had made her happy before. Just this kind intention alone was hard to obtain even with 1,000 gold pieces. Leo looked out of the window and said, that fool who was unwilling to act pitiful in front of you, because he could not bear to part with you, he chased after the helicopter from F country to here. Now, he is afraid that you do not want to see him, so he did not dare to board the helicopter and still chased after the helicopter back to F country. Xiao Mengmeng really does not intend to care about him. Hearing Li's words, Gu Mengmeng then regained her senses. Following Li's line of sight, Grace was indeed chasing after the helicopter in the form of a vulture. Digression, that was the end of Li's proposal. As usual, I recommend Susu's new article, Warm Thoughts on a Pillow, Don't Stop Taking the CEO's Medication, a 1v1 sweet pampering article. No mistresses, no exes, no misunderstandings. If there are babies who like to read sadistic articles, please pay attention to Susu's completed article, Overbearing Wife. I heard that the wife wants to divorce her husband. Beast World will temporarily end here. The editor said that if the data is good, he will let me continue to publish more. Any more and it will probably be the content of Grace's marriage proposal. Susu will try her best to fight for it with the editor. If my babies like it, please leave a comment. Chapter 1725. They changed their flight route at the last minute and did not fly back to F country directly. Instead, they chose the nearest airport to land temporarily and let Gregory board the plane. He was a little uneasy, as if he was afraid that Gu Mengmeng would be angry. After all, they had been together for so long. Although Gregory did not speak much, Gu Mengmeng still had a basic understanding of him. Gregory, do you actually have something to say to me? Gregory was stunned for a moment. He hesitated but still nodded. What is it? Gu Mengmeng looked at him quietly, using an encouraging gaze to express her anticipation. Gregory tried to pull Gu Mengmeng's little hand. Seeing that she did not resist, he slowly said, it will be Chinese Valentine's Day in 3 days' time. Gu Mengmeng suddenly understood something. So the reason why you kept disappearing mysteriously was to prepare for Chinese Valentine's Day. Gregory nodded. His eyes were filled with anticipation. He wanted to invite Gu Mengmeng to spend Chinese Valentine's Day with him, but he did not have the right to monopolize her for even a minute. He was just a guardian beast. When Gu Mengmeng needed him, he would fulfill all her requests and was always prepared to sacrifice his life to protect her. However, she was now a beast deity. She was so powerful that no one could harm a single strand of her hair. So the value of his existence decreased again and again. It was only because he had guarded Snake for her for 1,000 years that she did not abandon him. It was already her kindness and charity that allowed him to stay by her side. He did not have the right to ask for more. Chinese Valentine's Day is actually quite suitable for the occasion, isn't it? Leah swayed his tail seductively with a faint smile. Gu Mengmeng smiled at Leah. He was the one with the strongest jealousy in the family. Elvis had the status of the first partner and rarely showed any signs of jealousy. Although Snake was overbearing, after experiencing 3 lifetimes of separation and reunion, he already knew that he could not be Gu Mengmeng's only one. Moreover, he was indebted to Gregory, so he was very tolerant towards Gregory. Only Leah did not hide his jealousy. He always guarded against anything other than partners who had already become a fact. But now, he was the one who stood up for Gregory. It was rather refreshing. Why are you looking at me like that? Leo leaned forward and bit Mingming's earlobe gently. He said flirtatiously, "Your gaze makes me want to eat you up." Gu Mengmeng pushed Leo away and snuggled into Elvis's arms, not wanting to bother with this indecent fox. "Xiao Meng, you've been testing him for more than 1,000 years, and we've all acknowledged him as a family member. If you like him, then give him a chance." Gu Mengmeng looked up at Elvis, not knowing what to do. It was not that she was shy. Gregory had lived with her family for thousands of years, and she had long regarded him as her own man in her heart. However, that layer of window paper had not been pierced through for 1,000 years, and the dust on it had long been as thick as the city walls. Now that he suddenly wanted to stab her, she didn't know how to face it. Just as she was hesitating, a grip tightened around her waist and she was lifted up from Elvis's arms by Snakel. He stared at Gu Mengmeng for a while before extending his arm to hand her over to Gregory. "Take this. Take good care of her before Chinese Valentine's Day. Digression: the Mid-Autumn Festival is starting. Are you surprised? Are you surprised?" But I'll say in advance that Gregory did not have much content. Chapter 1726. Gregory was a little agitated, his hands shaking as he hugged Gu Mengmeng. Gu Mengmeng did not resist and just leaned into Gregory's arms, looking at the other 3 males in her family. Their smiles were too natural, too in sync. It was as if this scene had happened 1,000 years ago and they had already mentally prepared themselves. And the only ones who were at a loss were her and Gregory. The private plane was very spacious and there were 4 individual rooms. Elvis and the rest found an excuse and returned to their own rooms, avoiding each other and leaving the space for Gregory, the slow-witted fellow. They thought that after Snakel became the leader, Gregory would immediately confess to Gu Mengmeng and ask for an identity. At that time, they thought that they should make things difficult for him and let him know the rules of the family. However, this male who was the last to enter the family was the most law-abiding one in the entire family. After 1,000 years, they were about to turn into giraffes. He was finally enlightened and wanted to confess. The 3 males all felt an inexplicable sense of comfort. Naturally, they would not destroy it. Originally, being able to fly was my advantage. But now, if you want to ascend to the heavens, you no longer have to depend on me. It seemed like it had been 1,000 years since he hugged her like this. The last time was on Moda Mountain. Planes can fly, but it's different from you. You are irreplaceable, so don't think like that. Baby Meng, I miss you so much. For the past 1,000 years, we have never separated, we have always been together. Even when I look at you, I still miss you very much. Even when I hug you, I still miss you very much. I have no choice but to think of you all the time. Gu Mengmeng lowered her head, her eyes filled with guilt and apology. Previously, you were always sneaking around, I thought you had found someone you like here. Gregory's body stiffened and he probed, are you doubting my loyalty? Gu Mengmeng shook her head and answered, it's just that here, I am no longer special. You can randomly pick a girl on the streets and she is very likely to be more outstanding, gentler, prettier and more loyal than me. So I am thinking, if you fall in love with someone else here, should I let you off? After all, I have already trained you for 1,000 years. Baby Meng, look at me. Gu Mengmeng looked up at Gregory's eyes. His eyes were very clear and had the unique cleanliness of a person who had been baptized by wind and snow. The bright and clear reflection of her shadow was focused and affectionate. The eyes of birds are the sharpest. No matter how far away we are, we can accurately see what we want to see. In my eyes, there is nothing but you. Whether there are outstanding, gentle, beautiful, and loyal girls in this world or not, it has nothing to do with me. As long as it's not you, it won't enter my eyes. I can't see anyone but you. But you've already looked at me for 1,000 years. Aren't you tired of it? What I'm doing every day, besides looking at you, is breathing. If I can get tired of looking at you, I can probably stop breathing. Gu Mengmeng smiled and took the initiative to kiss Gregory. The first kiss that had been delayed for 1,000 years made Gregory petrified in an instant. He was so stiff that he didn't dare to move. Chapter 1727. After returning to F country, Snake had to settle his family matters and was extremely busy. Elvis and Leah also had to settle the fiery flames and had little free time. The Chinese Valentine's Day was 2 days later and the people in F country did not celebrate this festival, so there was not much of a festive atmosphere. Gregory held Gu Mengmeng's hand as they boarded the high-speed train. Actually, there were countless luxury cars parked in the garage, but if they drove those cars out, it would be too conspicuous and attract attention. He did not want some irrelevant people to affect his rare time alone with her, so he chose the most low-key way to travel. There were quite a lot of people on the high-speed train and Gregory's heart ached that Gu Mengmeng would be squeezed, so he used his arms to create a small space for her, hugging her in his chest. Gu Mengmeng wrapped her arms around Gregory's waist, then pressed her little face against his chest. She looked like a little woman in love, making one feel pity and love for her. As the train swayed, her little face rubbed against his chest, making his entire body go numb as if he was electrified. He could not help but lower his head to kiss the top of her head. When they reached a certain station, Gregory carried Gu Mengmeng down the train and walked to the entrance of a seemingly ancient courtyard with familiarity. This small courtyard was a standalone building that had a very aged feel. It was a typical ancient European building, but it was obviously in decline and lacked maintenance, so it looked so down and out. After pressing the doorbell, there was a quick response from inside. Looking at the person who opened the door, Gu Mengmeng was stunned and surprised. Fei Rui. Gu Mengmeng tilted her head to look at Gregory and asked with a smile, "You always tell me that you have something to do, so you came to find Fei Rui?" Gregory nodded with a smile on his face. If he knew what kind of person Gu Mengmeng was in the past, he would not be smiling so calmly now. After all, she had been fantasizing about Elvis and Leah for a long time. If not for that one time when she was drunk and fantasizing, Elvis took it seriously and almost killed Leah before committing suicide, she might still be unable to change her fujoshi trait. It was the most loving when two beautiful brothers were together. Birds fall in love with fish, she seemed to have told this story to the females in the tribe before. But she had never said that the bird and the fish had to be a male and a female. While Gu Mengmeng's thoughts were running wild, Gregory had already carried her into Fei Rui's courtyard. The courtyard was filled with greenery and exuberant vitality. Unlike the desolation outside the courtyard, this place was warm and tranquil, giving off a feeling of paradise. Passing through the small courtyard, there was a glass piano room with a wooden piano in it. One could tell that it had been there for at least a few decades or even 100 years. Grace has a surprise for you. Fei Rui's eyes were bright, and his smile was as clean as a child's. I look forward to it. Gu Mengmeng returned a smile before looking at Gregory. Gregory was a little hesitant, but he still held Gu Mengmeng's little hand and pulled her into his arms. Seeing that she didn't resist, he kissed her forehead. His movements had always been slow and careful, as if he was afraid that she would hate him, but also because he cherished her too much, he didn't dare to be rough at all. I wrote a song for you. Gu Mengmeng looked at Gregory and Fei Rui in surprise. Chapter 1728. Fei Rui did not know how to sing, but he played the piano extremely well. Gregory's voice was a natural singer and the lyrics were written by him. They were filled with love for Gu Mengmeng. Gu Mengmeng felt goosebumps all over her body from the first line. She could clearly feel her blood boiling and spreading through her body. At that moment, Gu Mengmeng felt as if she could see the sunlight shining on Gregory's body through the glass, giving him a warm glow. His eyes were filled with love. It had been settled for 1,000 years and was extremely deep. Every word and sentence was a shared memory between the two of them for 1,000 years. The first time she went up to Motu, she forced him to jump off the cliff with her own life. The second time she went up to Motu, they spent 7 days together as if they were passionately in love. There was also their separation in life and death, waiting for 1,000 years. Even in the 1,000 years after his return, those trivial matters that she had forgotten became the most blissful memories in his songs. She was attracted by his singing and was completely immersed in the musical atmosphere created by him and Fei Rui. She could not extricate herself. Gregory was really too charming at that moment. When Fei Rui's last note ended, Gu Mengmeng could not recover from the musical feast that was held just for her for a long time. Gregory walked towards Gu Mengmeng, stepping on the scattered sunlight. He shook his shoulders slightly and then opened his arms to form a pair of wings. At that moment, Gu Mengmeng felt as if she had seen an angel. She threw herself into Gregory's embrace and wrapped her arms around Gregory's neck, kissing him deeply on the lips. His wings came together from both sides and enveloped her completely. This kiss was a kiss that had been late for 1,000 years. He did not allow anyone to disturb or spy on them. I'm very touched, really very touched. Gu Mengmeng's eyes were moist because of his 1,000 years of deep love. Being able to tell you everything is the happiest thing that has ever happened to me. Gregory's wings slowly transformed into arms and he gently hugged her slender body in his arms. Baby Meng, I'm sorry. I don't have the ability of the other family members to adapt to the rules of this world so quickly. I've always felt very lost. I don't know what position I should have by your side in this world. Elvis and the rest have already prepared everything that you need. Therefore, the only thing I can give you is this unchanging, 1,000-year sincerity. Can you please allow such a useless person like me to become your partner and celebrate Chinese Valentine's Day with you? This title should have been given to him a long time ago. It was just that he didn't say it. She waited for a long time and gradually forgot about it. It wasn't a surprise that he suddenly brought it up, but her heart still palpitated a little and she felt a little shy. How should I put it? Her marriage to Elvis and Leah was a result of circumstances and atmosphere. It was just a matter of time. As for Snake, there was no need to even mention him. That overbearing guy didn't even give her a chance to refuse. Just like that, he branded his mark on her body. Gregory was the first person to ask for her opinion in such a serious manner. He placed too much emphasis on rules. Gu Mengmeng had no doubt that as long as she showed even the slightest hint of rejection, he would immediately strangle this confession that he had been preparing for 1,000 years and return to the position of a guardian beast that he could not speak of. He would guard that lonely position and never step out of it even if he died. Out of topic. Chapter 1729. Gu Mengmeng took a deep breath. Compared to Gregory, she was after all a veteran who had been married 3 times. She should act more mature and generous. After all, Gregory was only 16 years old when she became the mother of 4 wolf pups. The flower bud of the motherland had become a 1,000-year-old demon even if she didn't bring harm to the country. Her moral integrity had long been shattered to the point where it couldn't be put back together. Reaching out a tender little hand, Gu Mengmeng gently caressed the side of Gregory's face. "Do you know that I have been waiting for this request for 1,000 years?" Gregory was stunned. He suddenly did not know how to continue. Actually, he had already mentally prepared himself for Gu Mengmeng's rejection or even abandonment. It was just death. If she did not want him, he would fly to the sky, then retract his wings and order the birds to eat him up, leaving his soul in the sky forever. That way, no matter where she was, he would be able to continue looking at her. He was betting on the possibility of less than 1%. He was betting that she would be soft-hearted and agree reluctantly on account of his 1,000 years of companionship and his broken wings and blindness. But she said that she had been waiting for this request of him for 1,000 years. So, it was all his fault. He was too weak and had no courage. That was why he had wasted these 1,000 years. His eyes flashed. He hugged Gu Mengmeng tightly in his arms. "Sorry, baby Meng. I am too useless. I made you wait for so long. It's all right to wait a little longer. As long as you are here, it's good." Gregory could feel a warmth spreading through his body. For the first time, he took the initiative to kiss her lips. That was an action that he had practiced thousands of times in his dreams. When he finally put it into practice, he could not remember the meaning of practicing against the air for thousands of years. He only knew that he was intoxicated and blissful. Everything was guided by his instincts. "Don't. Fei Rui is still here," Gu Mengmeng gently pushed against Gregory, who was about to take her on the spot. Turning back, she realized that little Fei Rui, who was playing the piano just now, had already disappeared. "When you pounced into my arms and kissed me, he had already left. So you spread your wings just to make it easier for him to sneak away." "Yeah, I don't want anyone to distract you. I hope that you will only look at me. Is there anyone else here besides you and me?" Gregory shook his head and said, "I can't afford a building like a castle. My money is only enough to buy a small villa like this." "You don't like living in a castle?" "No," said Grace. "I'm not picky about where I live, as long as I have you. But I have to prepare a nest for you. If you're willing to lay eggs for me in the future, I can't possibly let you lay eggs on a tree branch, can I?" Gu Mengmeng sneered but did not say anything to hurt Gregory. She just asked, "Then where did you get the money to buy this villa?" "Fei Rui and I signed a record contract with an entertainment company and debuted as singers as a group. I had Leia look over the contract. There's nothing wrong with it. I used all of the signing fee to buy this house. Baby Meng, I'm sorry. I didn't give you the money I earned and made the decision on my own. But I promise, I will only act on my own this time. In the future, every penny I earn will be given to you, and I won't keep it for myself. Don't be mad at me, okay?" Chapter 1730. Gregory did not say a word and just looked at Gu Mengmeng quietly. Gu Mengmeng smiled and said slowly, "In the beast world, you were the highest existence in the Maiden Mountains. You were untainted by dust and only accompanied by the cold wind and snow. Your skin was as white as snow and bones were as cold as ice, just like a deity. For me, you entered the 3000 secular world. You were willing to shed your pride and become like an ordinary orc. It was as if you only lived for me. Later on, because of me, you broke your wings and even lost your pair of eyes that overlooked the world. I can't forget how you looked with your back facing me when you were covered in injuries. I can't forget how you were able to remain calm even when the earth shook and mountains shook. But because of me, you panicked and your eyes were filled with tears of blood. You silently guarded Snake for 1,000 years but didn't ask me for credit for this after you came back. Now, it's for me. You are clearly not good at socializing with others and clearly feel uncomfortable being the center of attention. But just to prepare a nest for me, you are actually willing to stand under the flashing lights and bear everyone's gaze. You clearly said that birds have their own pride, and that their songs are only for courtship. But now... Gu Mengmeng could not finish the rest of her words. She could not use such derogatory words to describe Gregory's sacrifice for her. He gave up the pride of being the heaviest species of birds for her. She could not let his giving up make her feel inferior. For you, no matter what I do, it's only right. It's not like that, Gregory. In this world, there is no one who gives up for others without asking for anything in return. You're doing this because you love me. I know that. Gregory's heart trembled slightly. He loved her and she knew it. That was enough. On a romantic night with the stars shining brightly, Gregory hugged Xia Xiangxi in a room filled with fresh flowers and completed their 1,000-year love. Looking at the little person sleeping peacefully in his arms, the ice in Gregory's eyes melted into a trickle and flowed onto her body. It was unstoppable and irreversible. A vulture spread its wings on her shoulder blade, as if her delicate and beautiful back was his entire sky. That's nice, Grace said. Although this was not the position closest to his heart, he was extremely satisfied. After Snake mated with Gu Mengmeng, the protection mark he had left behind had already disappeared. What replaced it was a dark green snake on his chest. The fact that she had no one to protect her had always been a sore point for Grace. Now that he had become the eyes behind her back, his wish had been fulfilled. Compared to anywhere else, this mark was the most satisfying to him. From now on, her back would be guarded by him. It was a sense of responsibility and mission that arose spontaneously. I will protect you well, forever. When Gu Mengmeng woke up the next day, she was in a daze. However, have you ever had that experience? He slept until his arms were numb. He wanted to turn over, but he found that he couldn't move at all. When he came to his senses, he realized that he was in midair. Yes, she was in midair. On Grace's back. She was tied to her back with a bed sheet by Gregory without any sense of beauty. Then, she was sent flying in the sky for an unknown reason, Grace. Gu Mengmeng called out, and what answered her was a chirp. All right, after her son, she now had trouble communicating with her own man. He had become a beast deity, but still could not understand the beast language. What kind of heaven-defying bug was this? Was no one going to fix it? Aside from the topic, let's not write about Gregory's meat for now. Chapter 1731. Gregory circled the sky once, before finding the tallest tree and stopping at its crown. Gu Mengmeng then realized that they were no longer in the vicinity of the villa. They had even left the city and entered the deep mountains and forests. Why are we here? Gu Mengmeng looked at Gregory, who had transformed into his human form and casually tied a bedsheet around his body, giving off the aura of a Roman prince. She deeply felt the importance of one's face. Even if a handsome man had a bedsheet draped over him, he would still be a male model at the forefront of the Paris Fashion Week. But when this bedsheet was draped over her just now, it should be about the same as the patients in Qingshan Mental Hospital. Look. Gregory smiled and rubbed the top of Gu Mengmeng's head with his chin. Then, he raised his hand and pointed to the east. Gu Meng Meng looked in the direction of his hand. There was a faint orange light shining through the darkness. Sunrise. Yeah. Gregory replied gently. Then, he rested his chin on the top of Gu Mingming's head, letting her little face lean against his chest. He said in a hoarse, infatuated voice that had been honed after 1,000 years of gentleness, "When we parted ways with Moto, I was thinking that if the legend is true and I can come back alive, I will bring you along and fly with me. I will watch the first sunrise and give you the first ray of warm sunlight so that you can become the first ray of light in this world." The sun was at the other end of the horizon, as if it was carrying 1,000 pounds of weight. Even the first inch was difficult to resist. When the huge orange light finally appeared, it broke through all the obstacles and shone in all directions, dispersing all the darkness in this world. That moment of emotion was indescribable. Gu Meng Meng retracted her gaze and looked at Gregory's face. His smile was gentle and elegant. He did not have the intense heat that the other men in her family had. It was as if he wanted to melt her and become one with her the moment he saw her. Gregory was the complete opposite. He took care of her carefully and protected her completely, not wanting her to be harmed in the slightest. He was like the wind, lingering around, omnipresent, never leaving for even a moment. However, he would not hinder one's progress, would not block one's vision, and would not affect one's decisions. He only quietly sent a wisp of coolness in the hot summer, or blowing on her face, or caressing her hair, or gently fluttering the edge of her skirt. He used all of his gentleness and treated her well for 1,000 years without her noticing. Today was probably the first sunrise in his world, right? From then on, the sunlight would dispel the darkness called loneliness, and he would no longer have to struggle outside of her world. He was her man. He was famous and had a share. "Baby Meng, I still want to do something for you." Gregory placed Gu Meng Meng on his back, before maintaining his half-orc form to travel through the forest. Gu Meng Meng had experienced this kind of flight many times, but she still found it exciting. Hence, she giggled on Gregory's back and occasionally roared like Tarzan. Anyway, they were deep in the forest and were not afraid of attracting attention. Seeing that she was having fun, Gregory purposely pondered for a while longer. Finally, he chose a tree that was neither too tall nor too short and placed her on a thick branch. Chapter 1732. Gu Meng Meng nodded her head in agreement. Then, she watched as Gregory jumped down the tree and got into a stance. Gu Meng Meng was a little confused. She did not know what Gregory was doing. But she could not deny that this stance looked pretty good. After a breath, Gregory started punching, kicking, jumping, somersaulting. He belonged to the category of abstinence. Just standing there quietly made Gu Meng Meng want to call him master. Now that he was moving, he looked even more like a celestial master from a sect, a peerless master. With a shake of his shoulders, he stood at his original spot and slowly stopped his stance. Gu Meng Meng was so absorbed in watching that she could not help but clap for Gregory at the same time. And with this clap, she naturally let go of her hands. Losing her balance, Gu Meng Meng fell down from the tree. Gregory had been observing Gu Meng Meng all along. Naturally, he would not let her fall. So, he spread his wings, and when he was in front of her, he turned his wings into arms and hugged her tightly. Then, he landed on the ground. Gu Meng Meng was actually not too afraid of falling. Maybe it was because she had fallen too many times when she was the messenger of the beast deity and was already used to it. But at this moment, her heart still couldn't help but beat so fast that her face was a little hot, so hot that it was scorching. "Are you scared?" Grace asked with concern. Gu Meng Meng shook her head and did not say a word. Gregory placed Gu Meng Meng on the ground and let her sit on the protruding root of the tree. Then, he checked her body carefully to see if she was injured. "What kind of stance did you use just now?" It was so beautiful. Gregory was kneeling on one knee on the ground, checking Gu Mingming's wrist. When he heard that, he looked up and his gaze was filled with warmth. I should be the one asking you this question. Gu Mengmeng tilted her head in confusion. This set of martial arts was created by you, but you did not name it. Me? Gu Mengmeng was at a loss. She did not understand at all. Gregory placed her wrist down and maintained his kneeling position. He placed his hands on both sides of Gu Mingming's body for support. His upper body leaned forward slightly and he leaned closer to Gu Mengmeng. When you were preparing to retrieve the love of the sky, we spent 7 days in the cave at the top of Maiden Mountain. At that time, you drew a portrait of me. Do you remember? Gu Mengmeng smiled awkwardly. To think that Gregory could so calmly call that Crayon Shinchan has something on his mind, portrait, this was definitely a dark history and Gu Mengmeng felt that there was no need to remember it so clearly. But looking at Gregory's expectant eyes, she answered honestly, I remember. Before you painted my portrait, you also painted other things on the wall. Do you remember? Gu Mengmeng thought about it and felt a little lost. Grace picked up a branch from the side and started drawing on the ground. Gu Mengmeng looked at it seriously for a long time before she suddenly remembered that she had drawn these little matchstick figures fighting on the walls of the cave. She even told Gregory in all seriousness that this was the martial arts esoterica that she had left behind. In the future, a fated person would jump down from the mountain peak and not fall to his death. Coincidentally, he would fall into this cave and obtain this esoterica. Then, he would cultivate the ultimate martial arts and become an unparalleled hero. At that time, she was talking nonsense. After Snake revived, the Hetua Mountains completely collapsed. I'm afraid that the fated person who did not die after jumping down from the cliff will not appear in that cave. I don't want to disappoint you, so, let me be the unparalleled hero. Aside from the topic, someone asked me if I was going to write Snake's side story. Wasn't Domineering Senior Falls in Love with Me just Snake's side story? What side story? No, Snake didn't have a solo side story. Chapter 1733. Gu Mingming's heart skipped a beat as she looked at Gregory's deep and serious eyes. She was fooling around, but he carefully and cautiously collected it. The feeling of being treasured was really good. You even remember these. Gregory held Gu Mingming's hand and kissed it. In those 1,000 years in the mountain, I relied on the memories of those 7 days when you were by my side to survive. Every scene had been replayed in my mind for 1,000 years. How could I forget it? Moreover, I don't have to deliberately remember everything about you, but I will never forget. The sun had completely risen. The bright sunlight shone through the layers of leaves and shone on Gregory's body. There was a unique fog rising in the forest, giving him an ethereal aura. Gu Mengmeng was a little dazed as she looked at him. She still remembered that when Gregory first came to Sauter, Leo was quite guarded against him. He even lost confidence in his own beauty. He said that the beauty of the bird tribe was different from that of the land beasts, and the vulture tribe was the best of the best. He was afraid that after seeing too much of the wild and passionate ways of the land beasts, she would develop a kind of rare things are precious attitude towards Gregory. That coquettish fox was really afraid that he would fall in love with her after his beauty waned. With a gentle gaze, Gu Mengmeng reached out to caress Gregory's face. She chuckled. All right, let's go back. Mating is a big matter. We should inform our family. All right. Gregory answered calmly, but his heart was not at peace. For 1,000 years, he was by her side but did not even dare to hug her. He was afraid that she would hate him, afraid that she would abandon him, afraid that she would look at him coldly and look of rejection. Finally, he had become her male and truly belonged to her. It was his first time returning to the family he had been with for 1,000 years as an official partner. It was impossible for him not to be nervous. On the way back, they did not take the high-speed rail. Instead, Gregory transformed into a vulture and brought Gu Mengmeng back to the castle at a height of 6,000 feet. At this height, normal human eyes would not be able to see anything strange. Even if someone looked up, they would only see a bird flying across the sky. When he returned to the castle, the three men who were supposed to be busy were all sitting in the courtyard. Elvis leaned against the sycamore tree in the courtyard and sat on the ground. His back leaned against the tree trunk, one leg bent and the other straight. He placed an arm lightly on his bent knee and lowered his head, as if he was thinking about something, but also as if he was waiting quietly. Snake sat lazily on the steps at the entrance, most of his body hidden in the shade. Only that pair of slender and well-defined large hands were carelessly fiddling around under the sunlight, as if he was trying to grab something from the sunlight, or as if he was using the sunlight to warm his hands, so that she would not catch a cold when he hugged her. Leah had already set up a makeshift stove in the courtyard. There were all kinds of food on the stove that were already 80% done, as if waiting for someone to return. He just needed to increase the heat to prepare the most suitable food for her. "We're back," Gu Mengmeng said softly, and the three men in the courtyard looked up. What was rare was that no one stood up to greet her. They just stared at her face, as if waiting for her to announce something. Chapter 1734. I have mated with Gregory. Gu Mengmeng answered honestly. The three men in the family were not surprised by this news. In fact, they were the ones who created the opportunity for him to succeed and become a true member of their family. Gu Mengmeng looked at the three men still sitting there motionlessly, feeling a little lost. Was he angry? It did not seem like it. Not angry. Then what was the meaning of them not moving? Gu Mengmeng looked at Gregory, but he just smiled at her and did not say a word. It seemed like the whole family knew what this meant, except for her. Gu Mengmeng walked to Elvis in confusion. Elvis opened his arms with a gentle gaze. He did not take the initiative to hug her and just waited for her to enter his arms. Gu Mengmeng felt a little weird but did not think much about it. She just snuggled into Elvis's arms and looked up at him, asking, "What's wrong with you guys? You look weird." Elvis lowered his head and kissed Gu Mengmeng's forehead, saying, "We are afraid that you will forget the old and enjoy yourself to the point of forgetting home." What? Gu Mengmeng did not know whether to laugh or cry, saying, "How is Gregory considered a new person? He has lived with us for thousands of years. But didn't you just taste him for the first time last night?" Gu Mengmeng blushed and punched Elvis's chest, saying, "You're so annoying." Elvis smiled indulgently and allowed her to behave atrociously in his arms. He was not angry at all and only discussed with her seriously, "Are you satisfied with his performance?" Gu Mengmeng looked at him and asked, "Are you satisfied?" Gu Mengmeng's face was so red that she could not say a word. She glared at Elvis coquettishly. He had learned bad things. He was now the first partner of a racer. "Xiao Meng, you have 4 beast kings by your side now." Gu Mengmeng choked and suddenly looked up at Gregory. Only then did she realize that the feathers around his ears seemed to have changed. The color was more vibrant and even had a golden luster. When did you? I upgraded halfway through the mating process. At that time, you might not have noticed. Gu Mengmeng held her forehead and buried her face into Elvis's chest. If only she had noticed at that time. Among the Beast Kings, their abilities are almost the same. The status of the 4 of us in the family could no longer be determined by force like in the beast world. So, what the 4 of us are waiting for now is for you to re-establish the family order. Gu Mengmeng looked at Elvis with a dumbfounded expression and said, "Haven't we been getting along well in our family? Why do we need to establish order? Just let it be like this." Fool. Elvis kissed Gu Mengmeng's dazed little face and sighed helplessly, the males in the beast world and this era have different views on love and family, but there is one thing that is very similar, and that is the possessiveness. There's no need for order when it's just Leah and me, because we've been working together for many years before we met you and confirmed each other's family positions. When Snake returned, we did not rearrange the family order because we knew very well that Grace would one day become a member of our family. It was just that back then, he didn't think that he would have to wait for so long to mate. Fortunately, all of our family members are here. We are now a complete new family, so we naturally need a complete new order. But Xiaomeng, wolves are greedy by nature, foxes are cunning by nature, and snakes are selfish by nature. Chapter 1735. So no matter what your decision is, we will listen to it. Gu Mengmeng understood. No wonder the three of them were sitting there motionlessly. They were waiting for her to express her stance. She laughed softly before wrapping her arms around Elvis's neck and kissing him softly. The family rules are always set by the first partner. Aren't females only responsible for enjoyment? Why am I the one to be burdened now? No way, no way. Elvis was stunned for 2 seconds before he smiled and kissed Gu Mingming's lips gently. Xiaomeng is right. I was wrong. He thought that Leah was always the best at pleasing her. He thought that Snake's mark was on her heart. She thought that Gregory was a newly favored lover. So it would be hard for him to keep his position as the first partner. But it turned out that he was wrong. His position in Xiaomeng's heart had never changed. No matter how many strong and handsome males she took in, he would always be the first partner in her heart. Carrying Gu Mengmeng, he stood up and walked to Snake, asking, "Are you convinced now?" Snake looked up, his entire being lazy. Was he angry? Not really. But he would still feel a little uncomfortable. He was still not the most reliable person in Tuming's heart. But it didn't matter. He didn't want to make things difficult for her. He didn't forget that time in the Snake King Valley when he only whipped Elvis once with his tail and Tumeng almost lost her life for biting him. If he really wanted the position of the first partner, he had so many chances to kill Elvis and Leah. He just couldn't bear for her to shed another tear. She stood up lazily and walked 2 steps forward to stand behind Elvis. This meant that she had acknowledged his position as the first partner and was willing to be below him. Elvis carried Gu Mengmeng to Leah and asked, "Do you have any doubts?" Leah swayed his large tail and carried the small bowl to Gu Mengmeng. His pair of fox eyes were filled with a myriad of amorous emotions, charming and affectionate. He scooped a small spoonful of meat paste and said, "I'm very jealous and was never suitable to be the first partner. I just want to be a beast man who can fight for favor openly. I don't want to be bound by those responsibilities and obligations. As for me, as long as Xiao Mingming's heart always leans towards me, I'll be satisfied." Gu Mingming's eyes lit up as she took a bite of the meat Leah sent to her mouth. Ever since this guy came to modern times, his culinary skills had improved by leaps and bounds, as if he had turned on a cheat code. "Xiao Mengmeng, tell me, who do you think is better looking, me or Gregory?" "You're pretty." Without waiting for Gu Mingming's reply, Gregory spoke first. "I am the last male to join the family. I know my place and will not fight with you for your favor." Leah choked and snorted. "That's why I don't like you." Gu Mengmeng chuckled. She understood what Leah meant too well. Gregory made it sound as though Leah had already lost with just a no contest. It was true that he didn't mean it, but it was really too harsh. Gu Mengmeng knew that she had just mated with Gregory yesterday. Even if the 3 males at home did not say anything, they would definitely feel uncomfortable in their hearts. So she naturally had to appease them at this time. Chapter 1736. Gu Mengmeng hung in Lee's arms and Leah passed his tail to her out of habit. She had a serious fetish for plush. Under Lee's intentional nurturing, this problem became more and more serious. She knew but did not resist. Leo was the most insecure out of the four partners. His childhood had determined his character. Even after 1,000 years, some things were hard to change once they had taken shape. In the family, he was not like Elvis, who was the first partner and indispensable. He was not like Snake, who left a mark on her heart which was the most special. He could only rely on her love to comfort himself. But now that Gregory, this little fresh meat, had joined the family, he was naturally more afraid that she would dislike him. So, her fetish for plush had become an important source of security for him. No matter what, she liked his tail. Gu Mingming's expression was one of enjoyment as she stroked his white and soft tail in her arms. Leah, why aren't you a nine-tailed fox? If you had 9 tails, just thinking about it makes me happy. Are you looking down on me? Leah said as he acted like he was going to retract his tail. Gu Mengmeng was having a great time stroking him. How could she let him retract his tail? No, one is good enough. One cannot be too greedy. I am content. Lee's smile was a little triumphant, but it was filled with a lot of pampering. Actually, it was not entirely because he lacked a sense of security that he indulged Gu Mingming's fetish for plush. More of it was because he craved her satisfied expression. What she liked should be satisfied. Elvis turned around and looked at Gregory, asking, then, what about you? Do you have anything to say about being the first partner? Gregory shook his head, his gaze landing on Gu Mingming's face, who was playing with Lee's tail happily. Now that I have a status and can openly accompany her by her side, I am already satisfied. I never dared to dream of being the first partner from the start. Elvis nodded and said, all right, since that's the case, then as the first partner, I will announce the 3 rules of our family. 1. Do not let Xiao Meng cry. 2. Do not let her swear. 3. Do not let her tell legends. Yes. The other 3 said in unison. However, after this sound, the entire world began to shake. Gu Mengmeng was shocked and did not understand. Elvis quickly carried Gu Mengmeng back into his arms and looked at Snake. Only he was familiar with everything in the illusory realm. Snake sighed helplessly and said, the environment is ultimately an illusion, it cannot withstand the power of the 4 beast kings. Gu Mengmeng stared in bewilderment as everything in this world gradually disappeared before her eyes like a faded oil painting. Then, the scenery in front of them was replaced by an endless grassland. She had returned to the world of her beast god. However, this place was different from when she went to the dreamland. Unknowingly, a mountain range had appeared in the grassland. That shape, Moto. Snake chuckled and rubbed Gu Mingming's head. Let's go in and take a look. There's a surprise. Gu Mengmeng did not understand but still signaled Elvis to go over to take a look. Without another word, Elvis transformed into a wolf and carried Gu Mengmeng on his back, flying towards Motu. When they reached the entrance, they saw a small stream. It was clear and cold, like flowing ice, with bits of light and shadow. On the other side of the stream, there were many people sitting around. At a glance, there were the 16 valued females, the Snow Fox tribesmen, the 16 tribes, the old tribesman of Saint Nazir. The leader was a chubby little bear bun. When he saw Gu Mengmeng, he immediately stood up and waved at her. Girl, you're finally back. We've waited for you for so long. Sandy. Gu Mingming's voice was choked with emotions. She was indescribably touched. Pouncing over, the 2 females hugged each other. They were so emotional that they could not say a word. The 4 males looked at each other and smiled. Although it was a little strenuous to forcefully support a world with the power of a beast king, it was all worth it to make Gu Mengmeng so happy. The 3 of them had tried many times in the past to no avail. Now that Gregory had joined them, the four Beast Kings each held up a corner of the Beast Deity world and finally succeeded in activating the complete mode of the Beast Deity world. Kind orcs would return to the embrace of the Beast Deity after they died. In the Beast Deity world, there was no pain, no difference, no enemies, only endless warmth and happiness. They would be together with the Beast Deity in that world. So, this legend was not a lie. Aside from the topic, recommending Susu's new articles, Warm Pillow, Don't Stop Taking CEO's Medicine, Reborn Demon Concubine, Uncle Won't Attend Court Early Tomorrow. They were all one-on-one sweet love articles. The treasures that followed Susu here were definitely her true love. This story had ended, but Susu was still around. So don't be regretful, don't be sad. Let's meet again in the new article. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.